This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
And welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from the studios of Relmar McConnell Media Company in the beautiful city of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. That is smack dab in the middle of the Great Lakes Triangle. Hamilton is between the cities of Toronto and the cities of Niagara Falls, smack dab on the borders, or I should say on the shores of beautiful Lake Ontario. Toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Christopher Montgomery is my special guest, and he began his career in the mid-1980s writing for the Journal of Natural Health and Parapsychology. Since then, Christopher Montgomery has penned articles for UFO magazines and worked as a writer for USA Networks. Radio experiences include the X-Zone with yours truly in Canada, as well as WAIF in Cincinnati and KRVL in Arizona. Well known for his appearances on television together with the documentary UFOs in the Bible by Weller Grossman Productions. He now resides in the Seattle, Washington area and heads an organization entitled UFO Research Center, and their website is www.uforc.com. And Christopher Montgomery, welcome back to the X-Zone.
Well, thank you, Rob. Thank you for having me.
It's always great having you with us, Chris. Tell me, UFOs, are they still as commonplace, or are they being seen as often as they were 10, 15 years ago, or has there been a subsiding in the sightings?
To tell you the truth, Rob, I have noticed that there's a lot more reports coming in that have evidence like videos or photographs, because the technology incorporated into cell phones these days is so highly advanced that you can get pictures of the UFOs on the fly, and it's really great for investigators.
You know, I've seen a lot of these new photos and videos that are coming in from cell phones, Chris, and I must tell you, I really can't say that I'm convinced when I see these photos, because they're unclear, there's jerky movement, and still, you know, we haven't got that smoking gun, that definitive proof that you can hold in your hand and say, look, they're here.
That's exactly it, Robin. It's very easy to doctor up a cell phone video and add images and make it look like a real UFO sighting when in fact it isn't. And it actually takes a lot of time to verify the authenticity of something like that. So rather than spend all that time, I just keep in mind and remind the people that I'm allowing to view this information that it's not etched in stone and it could be hoaxed.
Now, you and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break, Chris. When we come back, we're going to be shattering the airwaves with some very important information that you're going to be breaking here on the X-Zone. Stay where you are. Don't go away. Christopher Montgomery is my special guest, Exonation. Once again, his website is www.uforc.com. That's uforc.com. Christopher Montgomery and I return on the other side of this commercial break, right here in the X Zone, live and around the world from our studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, Old Florida cuisine at its best.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
And welcome back to the X Zone. Coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And as you heard Steve McKinnon say, who's the producer of Paragators, the website is www.paragators.org. Now, Christopher, you and I are going to be discussing something very important in this hour, and I understand that you are going to be posting information for the X Zone Nation on your website that will be available after this broadcast. Am I correct?
Actually, the information will be available at the time of broadcast.
At the time of broadcast, which is 11 p.m. Eastern.
That's correct.
Tell us the story behind it, Chris.
Do you want the Reader's Digest version or the long version?
We've got let's see, about 40 minutes.
All right. I'll just start from the beginning.
Best place.
It all began when the issues that I want to raise here began with an incident report I received concerning a sighting and photograph made in Marin County, California. Mm-hmm. Now, as an investigator, of course, we're always looking for that little, like you mentioned before, that smoking gun or that bit of evidence that will substantiate or disprove the phenomena once and for all. And so naturally, I went looking for evidence. And what I found was that this particular sighting, this photograph, was made near near a former military site that was used extensively for missile launch systems and controlling submarines and et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So I discovered that there seems to be a thread forming. Okay, there seems to be a connection between UFOs and missile defense systems in the United States. It's information that's commonly available to the general public, but it's kept quiet by the government, and I think they go out of their way. This is speculation, but I think they go out of their way to make sure that this information isn't broadcast. So what I've done is I went and did some more research and found out that there is a substantial connection between UFOs and U.S. government missile launch sites.
What's the connection?
Well, apparently, and this is information I've been gleaning over the years, they have a particular interest in nuclear missiles, and one of the factors of the nuclear missile interest is that they have been shooting down U.S. missile tests and making sure that anything we launch from America, even if it's a simulation or a test missile from Boeing, they shoot it down. And this is nothing new. This has actually been going on for quite a while, and other countries are reporting the same thing.
Now, weren't there reports years ago of UFO activity near missile silos where the silos actually went into an alert status?
That's correct. Yes, actually, you're absolutely correct. UFOs and nukes is nothing new. This is something that's been around for a while, and Larry King did a wonderful show, and I'm going to post a link to this. Did a wonderful show on this very same subject, and he had as his guests Bob Salas, who was a former captain for the United States Air Force at Maelstrom, which is where the incident occurred, by the way, Maelstrom Air Force Base. And there was Bob Jameson. Mm-hmm. He was also at Maelstrom. He was a missile targeting officer that had to reactivate the missiles once they were shut down. Now, all of this occurred during and after a UFO sighting that occurred at the base at around that time and was actually filmed and seen by many of the officers there at the base at that time.
All right, now what makes this case now so unique? And what if you can give us a bit of a teaser on the information that members of the Exo Nation will see at your website, uforc.com, later on today?
All right. Well, yes, I'd like to discuss that. Also, one of the things that I'm going to reveal is some of the information that I have been getting from various sources, mm-hmm. Which I have obtained legally, and nothing is of such a classified nature that would not be allowed for the public to review. But I've had people come forward and send me information regarding this matter, which substantiates and supports my theory that the U.S. government knows a lot more about the UFO phenomena than they let on.
Such as?
Such as the problems they're having with launching nuclear missile tests, or like I said, in 1967 at Maelstrom Air Force Base, mm-hmm. where the nukes were deactivated and shut down.
All right, so, but what's the reasoning behind it on the part of the ETs, if in fact it has anything to do with ETs instead of faulty mechanics? And is it possible that the United States Air Force is using the cover of the ETs to suppress any flaws in the system?
Well, of course, that's always a possibility. You know as well as I do that anything's possible, and until proven positively, we have to consider all angles.
But how do you prove it's the ETs and not a human factor that's involved with these shutdowns?
Well, you have to have the evidence, and of course, whatever evidence is available is all you can present in the case. And I would have to tell you that the best evidence that we have in UFO investigation are photographs and films, and like we said before, they can be easily doctored mm-hmm. or changed. Now, what gives this topic a particular amount of credibility, in my opinion, is the credibility of the witnesses that are coming forward and stating these things, who actually are asking and calling for more congressional hearings on UFOs, and they want the government to reopen their investigation that was closed in 1968 after the Condon report.
All right, but here it is, the year 2010, Chris, and it's 60 some odd years after Roswell, New Mexico, and still nothing has happened. Is it possible that there really is no UFO connection out there, and that what we're seeing or what the reports are actually coming in have something to do with something much more terrestrial than extraterrestrial?
I would have to say that's a distinct possibility, and I'll tell you why. I'm one of the few investigators that have actually seen what you would call, quote unquote, a UFO, unidentified object. Okay, mm-hmm. The objects that I have seen and have witnessed with other people, which were unidentified, seem to be military in origin.
Really?
Yes. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if all of this has been done just to cover up a program they have for developing aircraft that can fly near light speeds. In fact, I would have to say that the objects that I had actually witnessed were associated with black helicopters and soldiers hanging out the bay doors and maneuvering in the sky and clearly visible to many people and such things as this.
So why is it then so many people still want to believe in the fact that it has to do with the ETs and that the ETs may have been manipulating our very existence since the beginning of time?
The UFO and the Bible theory is one of my pet theories, and that they are of a benevolent nature and that they're here to protect mankind from themselves. And certainly, this appears to be the case if, in fact, what I'm getting as far as information goes is factual. I think a lot of it has to do with psychology of people, and I've studied the psychological aspects of UFO reports and how how an investigator would view the information that's coming in. And a lot of the information that we receive has been filtered through various channels, including our own perception of what we're seeing could be clouded or skewed by our notions of what it should be. So therefore, to make a long story short, it's I think human nature's way of wanting completeness and wholeness in on the world and not have to worry about war, and that this kind of thing promotes that idea.
You know what? Not worry about war. It doesn't seem that the extraterrestrials, if this is their mandate to save this planet, are doing a very good job. You know, they should really, if they are there, why can't they step in and help us with the oil problem we're having in the Gulf of Mexico? Why can't they stop us with the nuclear threat that is happening in Iran? Why can't they help us to feed the hungry, make sure there's enough water for everybody on this planet? Something doesn't make sense with this whole story.
You're absolutely correct, Rob. A lot of it doesn't make sense. And as I continue to investigate this matter and look for the smoking gun, that will remain a question in my mind, and that is this, that if they really are of a benevolent nature and they want to help us in such a way as you had suggested they could, why aren't they doing that? I mean, why would they stop at shooting down missiles or shutting down missile silos to show that they can flex their muscle when they can actually come down and interact with us on a human level?
Because, you know, let's face it, if their mandate is to watch the planet, and of course everybody likes to use the non-interference clause that was brought up by Gene Roddenberry in Star Trek, would they actually sit there and let this planet be destroyed? If President Obama was to push the button to launch a nuclear attack or retaliation, would they then step in? Who knows? Christopher Montgomery is our special guest, www.uforc.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this news break as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Christopher Montgomery is our special guest this hour. Exonation, www.uforc.com. We're talking about UFOs, the military, missile silos, and what are the possibilities that these are really earthcraft, experimental aircraft. Send me your thoughts, Exxon at exxonradiotv.com, or you can chat with us online on Ustream TV. Chris, what is your personal opinion of the Roswell crash of 1947?
Well, interesting question. I'm glad you asked that. And I think we corresponded about this before, but I'm not sure if you remember. Stanton Friedman, who I believe, has he been a guest on your show?
Oh, many times.
Yeah, Stanton Friedman. He brought up a very important point about the Roswell incident, and that is that one of the government's pet explanations for this particular incident, quote-unquote cover-up, was that they were using crash test dummies. Well, the crash test dummies didn't actually appear on the scene until well after Roswell.
Yeah, well, yeah, this was part of an Army Air Force explanation of trying to satisfy the public after the the General Accounting Office, the GAO, started looking into Roswell. But you see, Stanton Friedman, what would Roswell have been if Stanton Friedman would never have written his book? And this is where I have a big problem. If Roswell was in fact legitimate, okay, why would it have taken all these years after the event for the event to be rekindled? Why wouldn't people have kept on harping, opening their mouths, getting a hold of the different media, not only in the United States, but around the world? It makes no sense. You know, there are people who say, well, the government back in the 1947s, if the government came to your door and told you to be quiet, you were. It was the end of the war, and it was totally different to the United States back then. Mm-hmm. I don't buy that.
Well, I could agree with you on and play the devil's advocate and say, yes, you're absolutely correct, and this is all hoax to cover up some bigger, more sinister plot the government may have, or some other theory. But the thing is this. There have been incidents that I have heard about where people that were involved, or supposedly involved with the MOP operation at Roswell, died of mysterious circumstances, and that a lot of the technology that we have today, according to Corso, Lieutenant Colonel Corso,
right,
was originated from the Roswell crash. So you have to ask yourself, number one, why would they want to come out with something like this when you know as well as I do that would definitely decrease their credibility factor in the eyes of many? And secondly, why would they want to take that risk if, in fact, there was something going on at Roswell where their lives could be in jeopardy and allegedly were threats made? Whether or not it was a crashed object they had recovered that was of an alien nature or not.
Well, we have to ask ourselves other questions. If it was reverse engineering, does that mean that the aliens brought Tang to Earth? I don't buy this. Come on, what are we saying, that humanity isn't smart enough to come up with all of this information or all these inventions, that it takes aliens to do it? And why is it only certain areas that we're able to get ahead with this so-called reverse engineering? And if it is reverse engineering, how come we're still using jet engines instead of whatever the technology that the aliens use to get from their planet, wherever it is, to our planet? Because jet engines do not work in outer space. Exactly,
but rockets do.
Oh, rockets do, sure. But the rockets, we already had rocket technology back in 1947. You know, and why don't they talk about the one major goof-up that, in my book, kills the extraterrestrial scenario when it comes to Roswell, New Mexico, was that when Jesse Marcel, who was the base intelligence officer, did not follow the military chain of evidence command. Why did he bring these alleged pieces of UFOs back to his house, wake up his wife and his kid, show them what was supposed to be and what he classified as top secret, let his kid play with it, let his wife see it, and then take it to the base. That makes no sense. As soon as that was disclosed in my books as an ex-cop, that broke the chain of evidence, which means it broke any credibility that Jesse Marcel ever had.
Exactly, Jesse Marcel. But you also know, being in law enforcement, that we have to consider all possible persons and interview them because they may contain information that would lead us to a conclusion for the case.
But none of the people interviewed brought that conclusion.
Exactly, and that's a very valid argument.
Like, there's been nothing but smoke and mirrors ever since the Roswell story reappeared. And I'll tell you something, if anybody is perpetrating a cover-up or a conspiracy, it's not the government, it's not the Vatican, it's the UFO community itself. Because as long as they have the conspiracy theory in place, they do not have to substantiate anything they say with any type of evidence. Whatever they say will be believed because, well, the government knows the truth. The government is conspiring against the public. That's bullcrap.
Well, you know, a lot of that began back in the 50s with the debunkers. But here's the problem I have with that, you know, and I understand how law enforcement works, the chain of evidence and everything, or the lack thereof, which in particular this case
Sure.
with the UFO subject. And that is the Condon Report. Now, I actually read the Condon Report, and I did a report on the Condon Report. And in my opinion, there were 2 or 3 cases that some of the investigators came forward with and said that they were unsolvable and that this may be the very smoking gun that we're talking about. And Condon still stuck to his guns and said that he solved the UFO mystery, and there's really nothing to it. And if that's the case, then why did he publish these particular cases, including McMinnville, Oregon, that could not be explained as a hoax?
Well, how was it explained?
They did all the analysis, the photographic analysis, they did the interviews, everything. They followed protocol, which a good investigator would do, and came to the conclusion that these photographs that were given after this incident in McMinnville, Oregon, were not hoaxed in any way, and that there was no way you could have faked these photographs of these UFOs. That is a smoking gun, in my opinion.
All right, it's a UFO because it's unidentified. We don't know what it is. But to say and to assume that whatever UFO is seen in the sky comes from a different planet or a different dimension or a different universe, come on, give your head a shake.
Right. And you're absolutely correct. We don't know. And I mean, there's never been sufficient evidence to say exactly what it is.
Do you know what? There's so much distrust in the world today, and I put a lot of the blame when it comes to UFOs on the UFO community, that if President Obama was to hold a news conference tomorrow, come out, face the nation, face the press, and say, listen, I have taken every step necessary to investigate the possibility of the existence of extraterrestrials. I have gone through the military reports. I have talked to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I have talked to the National Security Advisors. I can honestly say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that UFOs from other planets or other dimensions do not exist. Nobody'd believe them. Well, I mean, people with a head on their shoulder would, so that rolls out 3/4 of the UFO community,
including myself.
Well,
let me go back to the Condon Report once again. When the investigators came forward, Rob. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
When the Condon Report was released, some of the investigators came forward and said that the results of their investigation were fudged. That somebody had actually changed the information to make it look like these incidents were hoaxed. Now, why would they come forward with that information? And being that Condon was in the pocket of the U.S. government doing this research for the Project Blue Book Air Force thingy, then why would he doctor up these reports? I mean, if it was legitimate.
Did he doctor it up? How do we know? How do we know he did?
His own secretary came forward and said that.
Did she? Was there any evidence brought forward by any of the investigators, or was there an original copy that showed the differences that had been made, or is it just her word, hearsay evidence?
There's people out there that claim this correspondence and memos that contain this information.
Where's the evidence?
You'd have to ask Stanton Friedman.
Look, Stanton Friedman still believes in the MJ-12 papers, so come on, give me a break.
Okay. I'm just making light of the situation.
Yeah.
But if you really want me to come back on the show sometime, I can bring that information up. I did most of my homework here in the studio, And it involved this particular case of the interference with alleged interference with missile launches. One of the most strongest points I'd like to make is that if there is nothing to this, then why all the strange activity following my reporting of these incidents, including those who claim to be from the intelligence community who are releasing what they claim to be releasing information of a sensitive nature?
What kind of strange activity?
Defense contractors at undisclosed locations that were working in top secret projects, and the information was not classified, by the way, when they revealed it. But they needed to tell somebody, and after seeing something, for instance, on the military town, they made the report. But they claimed to be Department of Defense contractors, including, and I can actually track down some of these individuals and verify that they are military. Coming forward and saying that, look, this happened to us, and it happened, we're stationed on this battleship, or look, Major George Filer, you know who he is, Filer's Files, a pilot, major in the Air Force who claims he was scrambled to intercept UFOs. Now, Major Filer and Lieutenant Colonel Corso and all these other military people that are coming forward at a level of credibility that would at least...
Wait a sec, hold on here. How can you say these men who've taken an oath of secrecy, who are now breaking the very oath that they took, can be considered as credible? I think they're traitors.
Because they're not telling what they were doing while they were involved in these secret projects. They're only revealing what happened and what they saw during that time. Now, let me say one thing, okay? I personally... Now, this nobody has ever heard this before except my friends. I've never told anybody. This is exclusive, Rob. You ready?
Yep.
We got time? We got a few minutes?
2 minutes and 16 seconds.
Real quickly, I was driving down River Road near Boeing Aerospace, which the workers call the black hole. And as I'm driving down this river, I see something out of the corner of my eye, and it was a huge, giant ball. All right, it was black. And the strangest thing, now, this is just what I saw, whether or not it's real. It was black, and it had what looked like waves lapping all over the surface. And this thing floated over Boeing Aerospace. And I got on the radio, and I asked anybody out there if they had seen this thing too, and nobody, they were looking and they hadn't seen it. But I know personally, I'm a believer, that they do have interest in this because I've seen it for myself.
I believe that the military and military contractors are working on a lot of classified projects. And I'll give you the perfect example. In the 1980s, before the first Gulf War, you had all these UFO enthusiasts or nut bars around Area 51 with Doppler radar systems seeing strange lights in the sky, but nothing showing up on radar. Of course, to them it had to be a UFO. In reality, we learned later on it was the test trials and the final trials of the F-117 stealth bomber.
There you go. That's a perfect example of what you're talking about, and that is indeed the case.
All right, you stand by. We've got to take our final break, Chris. Christopher Montgomery is our guest, Exonation, www.uforc.com. That's www.uforc.com. Chris, when we come back, we have a question for you from one of our listeners. And Travis Walton was supposed to be my final guest tonight. Unfortunately, Travis could not make it tonight. He will be with us tomorrow night. So that's Travis Walton tomorrow night here on the X Zone. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break. Don't go away.
18 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Welcome back to the X-Zone. Christopher Montgomery is our special guest. His website is uforc.com. That's uforc.com. Chris, why do you think these people gave you this information? Is it possible that you were being the target of a hoax?
That is certainly a possibility, yes, Rob.
Have you verified the information or their credentials prior to posting the information?
Well, given the nature of my investigation, sometimes that's practically impossible. When I do follow up, either A, they don't respond to the request for information, or B, they give me bogus information.
Really, eh? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what can our listeners look forward to seeing at uforc.com later on?
Well, some of the evidence and photographs that I have in my possession that I would like to share with the X-Zone Nation, and one of them is an image of a UFO over a missile silo taken by satellite, by a Google satellite, accidentally, quote-unquote, accidentally discovered by a person that reported it to me, and this is not the first time satellites have picked up images of something unknown, as well as other information, including Firefighter's Guide to What to Do in the Event of Invasion from Beings from Another World. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, it's not conclusive proof that the military is being monitored by UFOs, but it's certainly interesting.
Is it possible the so-called UFO over a missile silo in the Google map is nothing more than a data drop that has happened thousands of times with Google Maps?
Perhaps, but do these things cast shadows?
No, but trick photography does, CGI does, special effects does. Like, do you think that if
exactly,
Chris, do you really think that if there is this government conspiracy, that the government is on top of everything, that somebody at Google or somebody within the Defense Department would have not caught this before then?
Well, you know what would be involved with reviewing every satellite image that comes in. I mean, that would be virtually impossible. It's like, reviewing every image of Mars as being mapped by the satellite. But I also think that it's a possibility that I've considered, and certainly not, like you say, a smoking gun, but certainly something we need to consider as evidence.
Chris, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. X-Zone Nation, if you'd like to see this information that Chris has posted, www.uforc.com. That's www.uforc.com. When we come back from the news at the top of the hour at 6.5 minutes past, I will be joined by Heather Woodward. And we're going to be talking to Heather about spirituality, spiritualism, psychic abilities, and much more. If you'd like to give us a call, toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and visit our website, www.xzonetv.com. We'll start broadcasting again shortly after 3 o'clock Eastern, here live from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. That is for the people who are watching us on Ustream. For you people listening to us in Radioland, we'll be back after the news. Don't go away.